A speech by Rubeus Hagrid to the students and staff of Hogwarts from Dave Dreams of Fantasy Worlds by Lynn and Dave. Ladies and gentlemen, witches and wizards, and to all the new faces gathered here at Hogwarts, welcome. Now settle in, 'cause old Hagrid's got a story for you. This one's about the boy who lived, and it starts with some folks who'd make a blast-ended Scroop look friendly by comparison. The Dursleys of number 4, Privet Drive. Now the Dursleys, let me tell you, if there was a championship for being the most boring, stick-up-their-backside muggles, they'd have won it hands down. Mr. Vernon Dursley, he's this big, beefy fellow with hardly any neck. Seriously, his head looked like it was sitting directly on his shoulders. And then there's Mrs. Petunia Dursley, who had enough neck for the both of 'em, perfect for peeking over fences and poking her nose where it didn't belong. They had a son, Dudley. Now I'm sure every parent thinks their kid is special, but the Dursleys thought Dudley was the greatest thing since self-stirring cauldrons. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Anyhow, it was a perfectly normal Tuesday, or so Vernon thought, until things started getting, well, odd. He's on his way to work, right, when he spots his cat sitting on a wall reading a map. Yeah, you heard me right, reading a map. Now, most people would think that's a bit strange, but Vernon, nah, he just harumphed and drove on. Then he notices all these people in funny robes wandering around, laughing and celebrating. Looked like a wizardin' pub had let out early, and a lot of 'em were spilling into the streets. But Vernon's trying real hard to ignore it all. He's good at pretending things don't exist, like the fact that his wife's sister married a wizard. Oh, yeah, he hated anything magical. If he could have bottled his disdain and sold it, he'd be richer than Gringotts. So lunchtime rolls around, and Vernon hears folks whispering about Harry Potter and you-know-who. He nearly choked on his sandwich, poor bloke. The name Potter was one he did not want to hear, 'cause it meant something odd might be connected to his family, and Merlin forbid that happen. When he gets home, he's in a right state, muttering about owls and shooting stars. Must be something on the telly, he grumbles, but no telly show explains owls swooping around in broad daylight like they're on a sugar high. Petunia's not much help either. She's busy fussing over Dudley and ignoring everything else. That night, while the Dursleys are snoozing, the real action starts. Albus Dumbledore himself shows up on Privet Drive, taking out the streetlights with his fancy gizmo he calls the put-outer. Always liked that thing. Saved me from tripping over me own boots more than once. Then who should show up but Professor McGonagall? Turns out she's been the map-reading cat all along. She's sitting there as prim and proper as you like, and she's got some concerns, and rightly so. "You're really going to leave Harry Potter with these muggles?" she asks. And Dumbledore, cool as you please, says it's for his own good. He'll be safer here. Now let me tell you, when someone's safer with the Dursleys, you know the world's gone barmy. Right on cue I show up, me and my trusty motorbike borrowed from Sirius Black. I land right there in the middle of the street, Harry snug in me arms, wrapped up in blankets. Poor little tyke, didn't even cry, just looked up at me with those big green eyes. Broke me heart, it did. Dumbledore leaves a letter explaining things, but honestly, do you think the Dursleys ever really read it? Nah. Petunia probably sniffed it and tossed it aside. McGonagall's still worried, muttering about how Harry'll turn out growing up in a place like that. But Dumbledore's got that twinkle in his eye like he knows something we don't. Once Harry's settled on the doorstep, we all take our leave. I hop back on the bike. McGonagall turns back into a cat, and Dumbledore, well, he's probably off to find some lemon drops or something. So there you have it, folks, the start of the boy who lived. Who'd have thought that baby left on a doorstep would grow up to be one of the greatest wizards the world's ever known? But that's the magic of it, isn't it? Even in the darkest times, there's always a bit of light if you know where to look. Now eat up, enjoy your pudding, and remember, if a map-reading cat ever gives you the side eye, you're probably in for something extraordinary.